Good evening and welcome to TV Toastmasters Club 9523, Thursday evening, March 1st, 2012 meeting. We have a special meeting tonight. We are having a joint meeting with Anderson Hills Toastmasters. And I want to let you know that Anderson Hills meets the second and fourth Tuesday of each month at the New England Club, which is off of Beachmont Avenue near St. Tim's Episcopal Church. We also have several guests in the studio with us tonight. We have Peg Stuckey, who is a friend of Rick Barron's and is here visiting with us. We also have two cameramen that are visiting with us tonight, Dwight Perry and Chris Vlahos. We have three speeches on our agenda tonight, so we actually have a full agenda. I think we're going to have a really good meeting. Our meetings, TV Toastmasters, are the first Thursday and the third Saturday of each month, and we meet at the Anderson Community Center at 7850 5 Mile Road. We would love to have you come and visit us, either the first Thursday at 6 p.m. or the third Saturday at 9 a.m. Now what I need to do is introduce our Toastmaster for this evening. And the Toastmaster is me. I'm Steve Ahrenholz. I'm the president of TV Toastmasters. I'm also the Toastmaster for our program this evening. Our first speaker that we will have up here is our word, counter, and grammarian. Carol Kormelink is a Charter Club member of TV Toastmasters, and Carol is going to give us, I think, an excellent word tonight. We'll just see who can use it. Carol?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Welcome our fellow club members from Anderson and our other guests. The trick today is not to use this word in a sentence. This 14-letter word, can y'all say like parachute, paralegal?
Carol.
Can y'all say pros, like prosper, prospect?
Pros.
And you heard of okie dokie? Dokian.
Dokian.
Para-pros-dokian. What that means, it is a figure of speech in which the speaker starts out on one direction in the beginning of the sentence or phrase and takes you to another direction at the end. This is the technique that comedians use to get laughs. And an example, I don't want you to use the word para-pros-dokian in a sentence. I want you to use a sentence that illustrates it. And mine is, I never knew what happiness was until I got married. Then it was all over. You didn't get that? And here's another one. I want to die peacefully in my sleep like my grandfather, not screaming and yelling like the passengers in his car. And my last one, I asked God for a bike, but I found out God doesn't work that way. So I stole a bike and asked for forgiveness. Mr. Toastmaster, Carol.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, this will probably be something a little bit easier to use than to say. I have an example here, too. It says, nostalgia just isn't what it used to be. At this point, I would like to introduce one of our guests here tonight, Joanne Buchanan, who is the president of Anderson Hills Toastmasters. Or, no, I've got that wrong. Okay, Joanie is the vice president of education for Anderson Hills Toastmasters, and we're going to hear from our TV Toastmasters VP of Ed when we start having our formal speeches. But Joanie is going to be our Tabletopics Master this evening. What Tabletopics is about, it is an opportunity for us to practice thinking and speaking on our feet. So she's going to have some questions for people who are as yet unidentified that will need to respond to the question that Joanie poses to them. Help me welcome Joanne Buchanan.
Mr. Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, our guest today.
Let's see. I have this very first one, and when I wrote it, I didn't know it was going to make history, but it is in the news as of today. It happened a few days ago. Congratulations! You've been asked to lead a project relating to bullying in your son's school. What are the first 3 steps you would take? Greg.
Thank you, Joni. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, bullying in the schools is not something to be taken lightly. It's a heavy topic, no question about it. What steps can we do? I think we all ought to have every child in the school shake hands every day with every other student. And they can smile and say, have a happy day. How can anybody be a bully if they've had to smile and say, have a happy day to this little twit that's given them so much joy the rest of the time? Somehow we have to model good behavior so that we can indeed find a way to get along. All of us probably at one time or another have been either a bully or are bullied. Most of us don't ever think of ourselves as a bully, and that's part of the problem, I would bet, because it's easy to feel put upon. It's very hard to feel that you're really a rotten person, or even just a bad person who's bringing dis-ease or actually misery to your fellow students, or even just somebody that you see going down the street. Would I want to be a bully? Of course not. Have I been bullied? Of course. So by definition, I'm one of the good ones. I hope that everyone that thinks about their lives would realize that everyone thinks they're the good one, and everyone needs a little bit of compassion. Madam Tabletopics Master.
Question number 2. You've just driven your car to the bank. You get out of your car. You go to the bank. You come back. You try to open the car door. You have left your keys in the car. What would you do, Miss Peggy?
Thank you. It was a really, really sad day. I was so excited. I was making a deposit at the bank. I was just really excited about this money. It was money that I had earned from one of my clients. First time I had been paid that much money. I get out of the car. I walk into the bank, proudly give my deposit slip and the check to the teller. So excited. I get done with that. I call my husband, and I tell him, I just put this $10,000 check in the bank. Let's go to dinner. Get out to the car. Look in the car. There's my little Shih Tzu, waiting, happy. I go to open the door. Nothing. I look down. The keys are in the ignition. The dog, again, has locked the car. The dog locked the car. So what am I doing? Okay, I can call my husband. He is 25 miles away. How long is it going to take? So instead, I'm knocking on the door, knocking on the window. Emmy, push the button, push the button, push the button. It's not working. I walk away, go away, call my husband. I come back, and lo and behold, Emmy has unlocked the door. Happy day, we're going to dinner. Thank you.
Question number 3. You've been in Toastmasters for many, many years. And you think back, why and how am I doing in Toastmasters? And you think to yourself, who was it in Toastmasters that enabled me to be such a success in this organization? Who was that person that really inspired me to step out of my zone, my safety zone, and made me the person I am today. Who was that person? Rick Barron.
Thank you, Joni. Interesting topic because I just gave a speech on this exact topic about why I joined Toastmasters. And if you remember from my speech, it was my wife that kind of twisted my arm and said, come on, honey, you need to come to the TV Toastmasters open house. I came grudgingly, kicking and screaming, at dark 30 in the morning on a Saturday when I would have normally been sleeping in. And there I was, Mr. Barron, pulling out his checkbook and enrolling as a member in TV Toastmasters. That's how I got started in TV Toastmasters. But the real credit for what I've been able to accomplish so far in TV Toastmasters goes to Miss Carol. Carol was the one that came to me last year about this time and said, Rick, I think you'd make a fabulous area governor. I'm like, come on, Carol, I don't want to do that. And she's like, just think of all the speaking opportunities you'll have as area governor. And she's right. This year, as area governor for Area 57, if everything goes the way I'm planning, I'll quadruple the number of Toastmaster awards that I've gotten up to this point in time. And I can owe it all to Miss Carol Kormelink. Thank you, Jane.
At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Steve.
Thank you, Joni. Let's have an applause for our Tabletopics Master today, Joanne Buchanan.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well. There aren't any.
Because when it comes to it,
Freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard. I have a dream. It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Let's move on to the speaking portion of our meeting. The next three speakers are each going to be presenting to us a prepared speech from the Competent Communicator Manual. They're not all working on the same project. The first speaker that we're going to hear from tonight is the Vice President of Education for our TV Toastmasters Club. Michelle Hennekes is working on completing her Competent Communicator Award by the end of this Toastmaster year, so that'll be the end of June. Tonight she is going to be giving us a speech which is completing project number 9. It is Persuade with Power. That's the name of the project. Her title for the speech is Microwave Magic. Microwave Magic. Michelle Hennekes.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and our audience at home. It was the early 1980s, and the microwave oven revolution had begun. Its cutting-edge invention from the 60s, once considered a novelty item, was now becoming affordable enough for the average middle-class American family to purchase. So my father, a 32-year-old entrepreneur, had a gut feeling that the microwave oven was going to become a staple in every middle-class American home. So he joined forces with a college friend, and they opened up a microwave oven specialty store called Microwave Magic. Their business did really well. It was during the economic boom of the Reagan era. But it wasn't just because of that. It was because they put long hours in. They were dedicated. They put their heart and soul into their business. They sacrificed a lot, worked weekends, nights. They gave their customers special attention, offering them perks such as free microwave cooking classes. In 1991, they did decide to close the doors after a decade had flown by because they wanted to spend more time with their families. But my father knew firsthand the trials, the tribulations, the self-satisfaction and the fulfillment small business owners can experience. According to the U.S. Small Business Administration, 50% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years. That's actually a pretty promising statistic compared to previous belief that 50% of small businesses fail within the first year and 95% of businesses don't even make it to 5 years. Leaving the security of a 9-to-5 job takes a leap of faith. But small business owners tend to be really passionate people that truly believe their product or their service will fulfill a need in the marketplace. To them, the benefits outweigh the risk. So personally, I'm convicted to support small businesses because I saw firsthand what my dad gave up in order to make a better life for me and my family. But that doesn't necessarily convince you guys to go out and support small businesses. When you make a purchase, sometimes you do use emotion, but ultimately there needs to be a benefit. So let's talk about some of the advantages of shopping small businesses. First, it fuels the local economy. Small businesses tend to manufacture in the United States and use American-made materials to make their products, therefore keeping the jobs local. Small businesses also tend to procure from other small businesses, therefore starting a cycle of boosting the local economy. It is also proven that small businesses tend to give back more of each dollar into the local economy versus those of large chains. Second, small businesses help preserve our neighborhoods. They're the lifeline of our community. If you support small businesses, you're supporting your city, your town, and your neighborhood. According to the National Federation of Independent Businesses, 91% of small business owners either donate or volunteer to local causes. So they're basically helping to keep your neighborhood alive. Creating jobs. This statistic, it dumbfounded me. Statistics from the U.S. Business Administration state that nearly 28 million small businesses in the U.S. have created 65% of the net new jobs over the past 17 years. Wow. Need I say more about that? High quality and great customer service. Small business owners tend to take pride in their product or their service. They give you first-class attention. They make sure their products are of quality make. They're not mass-produced products from some overseas sweatshop. Think about the last time you went into a large electronics store. Especially around the holiday season, they're usually overcrowded, understaffed. Might take you 30 minutes to get someone to help you. Sometimes they don't even act like they care. Go into a small business, and oftentimes you have someone who has a stake in that business, giving you the attention and the service that you're looking for. And finally, my favorite reason, the unique, one-of-a-kind item. Nothing's worse than walking into a function to see the lady across the way has the same exact sweater on that you do. That's not to say there won't be countless of other women wearing that same sweater this holiday season. That likely wouldn't have happened if you would have shopped small. 2 years ago, American Express created a holiday called Small Business Saturday. It's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It's sandwiched between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And it encourages people to shop local, physical brick-and-mortar locations. And I think this is a great way to get people to start thinking about shopping small. But my challenge is much more than that. Make it a part of your daily routine. The next time you want to go out to dinner, stop at a small restaurant nearby. The next time you want to read a good book, go to a bookstore down the street. After all, small businesses are making life better for me and for you. Ken Chenault, American Express CEO, said it best. The small business might be the backbone of the community, but the customers are the heart that keep it vibrant. Small businesses can be mom and pop shops, they can be home distributorships, they can be boutiques, they can be restaurants, but they're always someone's dream. After all, how do you think Amazon.com and Starbucks got their start? I can tell you, that's how my brave magic came about. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Lichtner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
Our next speaker is a retired clutter consultant. She will share a mini portion from the first of 8 clutter classes she is teaching at UC's Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, also known as OLLI. That training course, or that class, is beginning April 3rd. Have you been trying, possibly unsuccessfully, to organize clutter? You cannot organize clutter. You can only get rid of it. Don't leave it behind to burden your loved ones with their having to get rid of it after you're gone, and they have to get rid of what you don't need, don't use, and don't love. You will immediately feel the peace in replacing lifelong clutter habits with new stress-free, time-saving routines. If it's fun, it will get done. Carol is going to divulge what has and has not been helpful to her in her journey to retire perfectionism. By springing into action and investing a minimum of 15 minutes every day in your homework assignment, you too will never have to spring house clean again. Although I don't know if I can get a bucket loader upstairs in my house. Carol's going to be speaking from the Competent Communicator Manual. This is another project number 9, Persuade with Power. She wants some specific feedback from the people in the audience here as to what precisely moved them to want to clean up their clutter. Help me give an enthusiastic welcome to Carol Kormelink. Clean up the clutter. Clean up the clutter, Carol Kormelink.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. Are you suffering from chaos? Can't have anyone over syndrome. Many people do. I suffered a long time, and Rick has been in my office where he was there the other day, and he says, Carol, looks like a bomb went off in here. I'm going, well, I'm so busy. I've got 10 different projects going, and I don't have enough storage space on my floor. It's all cleaned up now, Rick. I couldn't stand that going in there. I would like to share one of the photos from one of my class members. This was her before photo when she came to my class. Does that resemble anyone's dining room table that you might know of? Mine was always like that. It was probably stacked even higher. After she was in my class, 2 weeks later, she cleaned it up. And people going, oh, you couldn't even tell she had a Longenberger basket. It didn't even show in that clutter. Look how nice her table is. The trick is that once you get an area cleaned up, you no longer clutter. And if you do clutter, like I have a problem with perfectionism. I never used to sweep my house because I didn't have time. I thought to sweep the house, you have to move every piece of furniture, dust the baseboards. No. Your house can be presentable by sweeping the traffic area. I got acquainted with Mrs. with Fly Lady. Fly Lady is this wonderful lady on the internet who helps you get organized. She's the one who said, you can't clean clutter. When I was teaching people how to organize their clutter, I didn't teach them how to get rid of it. I taught them how to buy another box, another file cabinet, another drawer, how to simplify their filing. If you wanted to file more than one, if you had car, if you filed it under automobile, you probably aren't going to find it if you're looking for car. But if you file it under automobile, then that could cover more than just your automobile. Or if you filed it under transportation, that could cover everyone's vehicle. So you have to simplify your filing. I never told people, get rid of all those things that you don't need anymore. And I felt so guilty, and so that's why I say, Fly Lady saved me. I have more books about cleaning up the clutter, and one of the ones that I really liked that helped me quite a bit, Don Aslett came to town, and I went to his training, and he said, who says it's a woman's job to clean? Men and kids make up 60% of the messes, and women clean up 90% of the messes. I learned that you put like things together. My cabinet over my dishwasher is where I store my glasses. Now my niece, her husband was like a big kid, and her kid, she put them across the room by the sink because they couldn't take one glass and walk over to the faucet to get a drink. Oh no, she had to carry the whole 20 or 30 glasses that they had dirtied so that they wouldn't have to make that little trip over to the refrigerator to get their drink. You learn how to save time. You learn how to make time. One of the best tools I ever had is the timer. Fly Lady says, you are not behind. If you look on the bottom of the handout I gave you, you are not behind. Don't even try to catch up. Just jump in where we are. And each year she has a new quote. And this year is, I forget what it was, what's that say on the bottom there? That's that quote down at the bottom. Perfectionism is shelved in 2012. She always has some little rhyming. And I thought, that's me procrastinating. I used to have closets that looked like this. This was the lady's daughter. She never did clean it up. One lady, when I was at the swim club, she was lifeguard, and I was saying, my friend's son just came home from college. It's been 5 months since he changed his bed. She doesn't even want to go upstairs. The odor hits her halfway up the stairs. Well, I haven't changed my bed in 5 months either. I'm going, ew, how can you stand that? The odor, that rancid oils from your body. I have sheets that don't get rancid. She has anti-rancid sheets. One of the things Fly Lady taught me was that you start somewhere. And the biggest improvement before my kitchen was remodeled in 1986 when my husband retired, I had a teeny, teeny little tiny kitchen with porcelain sinks that had a rim like this because I would let dishes soak for a month. And the water was green and the porcelain was all green. And people, when I say it, I can't relate to that. These meaty people. My husband remodeled my kitchen. He made lots of space. I have a stainless steel sink. Fly Lady says that's where you start. You have a shiny sink. Because when you walk in your sink, into your kitchen, in the morning, your sink frowns at you. It ruins your day when it's all piled up with dishes and you have to wash something before you can fix any food. When I walk into my kitchen in the morning, I've got that stainless steel shining at me. It makes me smile. Every room has a shiny sink. Now, what do you think the shiny sink is in the bathroom? Did I say bathroom? Bedroom. Bedroom. In the bedroom. It's the bed that is made. When it's unkempt, that's how people describe messy women. They look like an unkempt, unmade bed. If you sleep alone, and even some ladies that sleep with their husband, they do their side, you use the bachelor way of making your bed. When you wake up, you fan your feet, pull up the blankets and covers, and smooth them all out. When you get out of bed, you just tuck the spread over the pillow. When you come back from the bathroom, you smile because your bed is made and it looks straight. In the bathroom, I spent hours one time scrubbing the mold out of the cracks. Had my neighbor come over. I was so proud of all this in the bathtub there. What do you think she saw first when she walked in? The spots on the mirror. All my hours of work. I no longer have spots on my mirror. If I do have them, when I'm washing my hands, I put the water on there. When I dry my hands, I also dry off the mirror. There are just little things you can do. I recommend that you go to flylady.net, find some of her tips and tricks on how to help yourself never have to spring clean again, that your house can always be 15 minutes away from company. It took me about an hour to clean up all that junk off of my floor. And this morning I stayed up until 6 o'clock because I had a big contest last night, and I thought, I am not letting my office get messed up again, and I got everything put away today. So if you plan, work your plan your work, it will all work out, and if it's not fun, it won't get done. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol. Oops. I just call my den the damnation room. I am making progress on it, but it is slow.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer. He says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Doctor says, chicken says,
for help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken.
Our next speaker will be giving us a presentation, again, from the Competent Communicator Manual, and she is working on speech number 5, which deals with your use of body language. Sheila Mudd-Baker will be giving us her speech today entitled, Miracles in the Magazine Rack. Miracles in the Magazine Rack. Sheila?
Thank you. Well, mostly when we look at miracles in the magazine rack, we're looking at stories about losing weight or exercising. Those are not the kind of miracles I read this morning. I was in a waiting room, and I picked up a couple of magazines that I thought would be fun. First I opened People magazine, and I looked through, and I said, ooh, lots of pictures of people I've never seen before, people I know nothing about. And then it came to an article about a 14-year-old girl who had been kidnapped and tortured, and it took a long time until she was rescued. Then I read about a 9-year-old boy who was hit by a truck and killed. And then I read about a 7-year-old girl who was born with a very bad heart. And then I read about a woman whose husband had pancreatic cancer after 33 years of very happy marriage, and she had to take care of him. And I thought, this is so depressing. So depressing. All I wanted to do was just like bury my head, not think about it anymore. And then I read further. First, the 14-year-old girl who was kidnapped from her bed, leaving her poor, sobbing little sister unable to speak, was Elizabeth Smart. 10 years ago, she was kidnapped from Salt Lake City, lost for a long time, tortured by a very crazy person, and eventually found. 10 years later, she is safe, secure, happy, has her own nonprofit, and just got married to a young man from Scotland who had never heard the Elizabeth Smart story and thought she was just a wonderful girl. So there's a happy ending, a miracle in someone's life. The story of the little boy who was hit by the truck. Well, we can't resurrect him. He did die. And the little girl with a horrible heart. Well, the miracle was the parents of the little boy gave the heart to the little girl, and she lived. And the two families have practically melded. And now the little girl, who was an only child, has 3 new brothers. And the little, the first family that had no children not only have her, had only one child, have not only her, but now they have taken in the other 3. Several times a year the families get together. So both families are feeling much better because they know that what happened somehow worked out. You know, nobody's happy in any of these situations, but people were healing. The third person was Patrick Swayze's widow. Now, many of you will remember Patrick Swayze, an actor, a dancer, who met and married a girl that he met in high school. Actually, they were in the same dance class together at his mother's dance school. They were teenagers, and as soon as they got out of school, they got married. And 33 years later, Patrick Swayze was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. What a horrible thing. But it wasn't as horrible as you might think. One of the things that Lisa Niemi, Niemi, who is not Lisa Swayze, because she's also an actress, said was that Patrick Swayze remained the sweet, loving, wonderful person all the way to the end. She's gone through 2 years of grieving and has written a book, and she now is the spokesperson for the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. Pretty amazing when you think about that. 3, 4, 5, 6 adults, all destroyed in one way or another because of grief, and yet 2 families have managed to meld. There's a happy, healthy child joining 3 other happy, healthy children from another family, merging into a family. They call each other brothers and sisters. The little brothers of the boy who died put their head against the little girl's chest so they can hear their brother's heart beating. I know I cried. I waited in the waiting room crying. Elizabeth Smart, absolutely radiantly beautiful at her wedding. Lisa Niemi somehow getting through the most horrible, horrible grief. First 1 year through grief, then the second year, which is even worse than the first year. And being able to put that all into writing and releasing a book, a beautiful, beautiful book called Worth Fighting For. And now, all 3 are in a magazine proving that miracles can happen. What's the miracle? Survival, healing, knowing that no matter what pain we're given, we can make it through. I felt like my heart was ripped out and put back in. But now, I feel like dancing. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sheila.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters Club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmaster's edge.
Now we're going to get to the part of our meeting which is just as important as everything we've seen so far today. And this is the evaluation portion of our meeting. We're going to hear from the evaluation team what our different speakers did well as some areas that they might want to consider enhancing their speaking abilities. I'd like to welcome our general evaluator today, who will be introducing his team members. Rick Barron is a past president of TV Toastmasters, and he's also our Area 57 governor. Help me welcome Rick Barron.
Thank you, Steve. I grew up in a military family, and what I learned was no job is complete until the paperwork is done. And in Toastmasters, no speech is complete until the evaluation is done. You may be sitting out there in TV land thinking, wow, look at those people. Look at the courage they have to come up here and talk about a story from their past or lessons that they've learned in life. But the real reason that they come up here is to improve, to better themselves, and to get better and better with each speech that they give. And that is why we do evaluations in Toastmasters. And as Steve said, I have a big team that allows me to do this. It's not just me sitting back taking notes. I have a lot of help. And the first person I'd like to call up on my team is Greg Savanas. Greg is evaluating Michelle's speech, and he's visiting from the Anderson Hills Toastmasters Club. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and particularly Michelle. What a great speech. This was a great topic for the goals of the speech. The objectives were fourfold: to persuade the listeners to adopt your viewpoint, to appeal to the audience's interests, to use logic and emotion, and to avoid notes. All four of these objectives you reached. You got up here with such enthusiasm that it would be hard to disagree with you, which is always a big swaying point for any group. You knew about your topic very well. Clearly, you'd done a lot of research. You had quotes that you were ready to give at a moment's notice, and they all fit. Your information was apt and correct and timely, which is also very important. The information, for example, about the Small Business Saturday. I'd never heard of that before. So, again, it's very useful. The gestures that you used when you were giving your speech all fit with what you were talking about. That's sometimes very hard for people, especially me. Sometimes I get my hands on the table or I'll start doing too much. Yours were exactly what you need. You counted off on your fingers, always a great way to make points. You talked about cycling, and again, it fit exactly, and it kept my attention, and it drew me in a little bit as well. So, again, very good. Your body language was always forward. It felt like you were trying to get us to believe this. And again, I like that as well. The organization of the speech was very clear. That seems to be very easy to fall apart on, too, and you kept it right under control. Sometimes when you're getting into emotions, it's easy to head off on attack, and the audience will happily follow you there, and then they get stuck. You kept it together. You kept pulling things back. That said, one of the things that you might watch a little bit, especially with the word of the day being paraprostokian as it is, most of us, me included, when we do speeches, the start of our speech and the topic and the title we use sometimes is intentionally a little misleading. In this particular case, I like the story. Talking about your father always gets me. I have a daughter, not much younger than you. And so that gave me connection. It went a little too long. And then when you switched over to the speech part of it, at that point I was lost a little bit, because then you were from the title, I didn't know where you were going to go with. I hadn't gotten enough mental preparation. Another thing that I'm big on is I like to see movement by the speaker. This is a great podium, and with the setup as we have here, it's tempting to stay behind it. If you can move around a little more like some of the other speakers do, that would also help keep your audience from zoning out and losing it. I really thought that everything you said, though, was very believable and very usable by us, and those are the things that a persuasive speaker needs. Thank you very much for giving it to us.
Thank you very much, Greg. One of the best parts about being in Toastmasters is watching people grow over time. And I was in the club when Michelle joined, and I got to see her very first speech. And it's just awesome to be able to see speech number 9 and what it looks like, yet just a few months later. So that's the best part. The best part, we get to grow personally, but we each get to watch each other grow. And that's really the theme for TV Toastmasters, is watch yourself grow, because that's what everybody gets to do. They get to watch each other grow. Thank you, Greg. Very thorough evaluation. I think the one thing that I would add is the thing that really got me initially when Michelle came up here was she had a big smile. I mean, a really big smile that just drew me in. And it was like, she's got something really exciting that she wants to talk about. And that just kind of hooked me initially. And so I have trouble with that, coming up and just beaming when I get up here. And she was beaming when she got up here, and it was evident that she had something that was very personal and that she was very passionate about that she wanted to say. Now we get to move on to our second prepared speech evaluation. And this one evaluates Carol Kormelink's speech titled Clean Up the Clutter. And I've got some help to do this. A seasoned veteran of Toastmasters, Joe Schwerling from the Anderson Hills Toastmasters Club. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. And to extend your comments about Michelle's completion of a Competent Communicator Manual, Carol Kormelink, on the other hand, has been a long-time Toastmaster. She's probably finished more than a dozen, including 3 DTMs, going all the way through the advanced manuals and so on. So we've got a lot of experience on her point. And persuasion with power. Again, in short, the presentation was to be a persuasive speech combining logical support for a viewpoint with a strong emotional appeal, and to focus on the self-interest of the audience. Well, I think almost all of us have clutter to deal with, unless we have financial problems that have taken away everything we had. Some of the items on the Persuade with Power checklist are the sincerity which she has. Carol has given classes on cluttering a number of times, which makes her a credible source. The appeal is in terms of the audience's self-interest. The opening gets our attention, the logical reasoning, which has more direct bearing on some people more than others. I could be one of her worst examples of the cluttering that could not be overcome. Organization was effective. Your body language was very good. You're giving a formal presentation. You're behind the lectern here and up on this podium. Your visual aids, I think, were very helpful. The bright photographs, so they showed up well, and if the camera was focused in close enough, the audiences at home could see as well. You had references to some of your sources, like the Fly Lady and some of her suggestions about perfectionism and saving time by making time by saving time, and the perfectionism being shelved in 12. Now, based on that, and somewhat in conjunction with that paraprostorian, I would like to mention that for those that aren't aware of it, this is a very unusual year. This is really the shortest year. It's not going to be this short again in the rest of any of our lives, I'm positive. 12 is the only one-digit year we're going to have for the next 90 years. So, and then we're going to go into 21s, which is going to add another digit to the 2012. We're not going to be down to that's short of a verbal description of the year again in our lifetime. So take advantage of it. If you missed 2010, that was your last chance. Now we got 12, now we got 13, 14, 17. That's really bad. That's 3 extra syllables. And some of the points, I'm running out of time, but I will mention that one of the advantages of having a lot of clutter is you don't have hard surfaces to dust or sweep. You don't have to worry about where to sit down. If you're lucky, you got one chair. That's all I can manage. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Joe. I thought Carol's speech was a very good example of her word of the day, the paraprostokian. Because she got up here and she said, or maybe it was Steve that said, essentially, hey, I'm an expert on clutter elimination. And then she came up here and told on herself about how her office was so messed up, and she was up till 6 o'clock in the morning trying to clean it up. So, great example of the word of the day. I thought that was very good. Our next evaluation will be of Sheila Mudd-Baker's speech around miracles in the magazine rack. This was an interesting speech because I think we all had something in mind with the title, and Sheila took us on this journey that got us there. And Joni Buchanan is going to help us understand what she thought of Sheila's speech. Joni?
Thank you. Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, our guest, and our speaker, Sheila. And I think she's in the other room, so I can't really see her at this point. But Sheila, I hope you can see me. I thought when you came on board, you did a magnificent presentation, especially in the face. Many times we as Toastmasters think that all we have to do when we speak with our body is our hands or our body. We move. But what did Sheila do? She used her face. If you looked at her face the whole time, you would have known she was talking about something very close to her heart. And the expression on her face, she almost cried because it meant so much to her. She brought us on board with the title, Miracles in the Magazine Rack. I thought, what is she going to do with a magazine, you know? And you look at a magazine in a rack. And then she went and told about 3 different things that she saw in a magazine. And that's something we read. We read all the time. We read magazines. You know, I think the way she expressed herself, she tried to use the word miracle throughout the whole speech. She tried to explain to us what is a miracle. And she said, it's surviving. It's healing. We can make it through. And through her whole speech, as she was going through each one of them, you could feel that hurt that she had for another person. And I think we ourselves have the same opportunity that it doesn't matter where we're at or who we're with, but use your face. You know, you can hug a person. You know, you can shake a hand to a person. But look at your face, you know. Is it expressing what you feel? And through the whole thing, it was very sad. Her face was very sad throughout the whole. But at the end, you could feel hey, I'm giving back because I'm giving to other people what I felt. And I think it's very important that when we see something in a magazine or we see it on TV or anything, it does affect us. But how do we get it out of our system? Because if we don't, it's going to stay with us. And she did it tonight. She shared with us her feelings. And now each one of us can think about what can we do to other people. So Sheila, you did a marvelous job. Keep up the great work and enjoy it. And be happy. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Johnny. You're right. Very interesting topic to pick for a speech about gestures, because it was very emotional for me as well. But she did do an excellent job with your face. And what some of people may not know is she's had a lot of practice. So she's really good at expressing those inner feelings outside because she practices and she comes to places like this, to Toastmasters, to practice that craft. A meeting to our President and Toastmaster Steve Ahrenholz.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Well, I think we are running out of tape for our program tonight. I want to thank everyone who has looked in from home. I want to again extend our welcome and our appreciation to the members of Anderson Hills Toastmasters for participating with us tonight in our joint meeting. Our next meeting is going to be on Saturday, March 17th at 9 a.m. here at the Anderson Community Television Studio.